I'm joined now by Katia Glod, who's a non-resident fellow with the Russia programme at the Centre for European Policy Analysis, CEPA. Good morning to you, Katia.
Yeah, good morning.
Before we get into the history of the day, I just wonder whether you feel like there may be any big sort of proclamation from Vladimir Putin tomorrow. Of course, many feel that he needs to avenge for a war that hasn't gone as planned.
Yes, this is absolutely true. He may make some proclamations. I think we still don't know what exactly he's going to say, but he's definitely going to have a speech at the beginning of the parade, the so-called address to the nation. And he might either say that the so-called Donetsk and Luhansk Republic will be annexed to Russia, or he might talk about making Kherson region of Ukraine independent. Or he might indeed ask for a so-called general mobilization. This is when young men in particular and people who are so-called officers in reserves will be called into the army to come and help the current Russian troops to fight in Ukraine, because as we know, one of the main issues for the Russian army has been the lack of professional personnel and the lack of human resources.
Yeah, that would be absolutely huge, though, if he was to issue a declaration of war, as opposed to it being a military operation. As you said, it would mobilise, citizens and other people who could be drawn into the war. That would be absolutely seismic, wouldn't it? Not only for the impact on the Russian population, but also for where this war might go next. How do you think Russia would feel about that, though?
Well, I think the mood in Russia isn't as so much triumph as the Russian state propaganda is trying to portray it. We know that many people have emigrated from Russia. Some of the estimate has it at about 200,000 people. Many brands, Western brands, left Russia, and obviously it is having an impact on regular citizens of Russia. What many people in Russia are saying is that it is not our war, it's the war that Putin is fighting, but it has touched our lives. And indeed, the level of repression, the level of crackdown on dissent in Russia has been recently indeed unprecedented. Therefore, I think the mood tomorrow will be very somber for many, many people in Russia.
Will President Putin be ramping things up a little as a display of strength?
Yes, absolutely. We know that there are plans to hold about to have about 10,000 people, troops marching in Moscow in the Red Square. We also know that Putin is planning to use some of the Russian paratroopers who fought in Ukraine also to march in Red Square. There will be a big amount of different weaponry, big amounts of different military machines being moved along the Red Square. And this is kind of normal. I mean, this is what usually has been happening under Putin on the 9th of May. I would like also to mention that actually in the Soviet Union, for example, military parades were held only on special anniversary days, like on so-called jubilees. And up until Putin took over in 2000, the 9th of May was more a day of remembrance and a day of talking about your families and your grandparents, great-grandparents who fought in the war, and thinking what impact it had in your life, rather than showing the military might. That's what is Putin doing today.
And since Putin came to power, has the day slowly been less about remembrance and sort of quiet reflection amongst families and more about a show of strength?
Yes, and this is particularly, this is absolutely right. And it can also be particularly seen in this action, which is called the Immortal Regiment, that actually was thought of by a civil society organization as a campaign to, again, think about your family albums, to show your family members. And this is something, the campaign itself is basically people people walking in the Red Square holding the photographs of their family members who died during the World War II. And the state propaganda, again, has taken over this particular event. And Putin usually heads this procession. And as Peskov, Putin's spokesperson, said yesterday, this is a moment of enormous pride for us. And again, instead of being sort of a day of remembrance, we're seeing that it is becoming more of a military triumph, and also a way to scare off the West and to show off the military weaponry, to show off probably nuclear arsenal as well, and to show that Russia is basically mighty.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of it with a huge 50-ton missile capable of reaching the UK or Europe. Frightening stuff. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Really interesting take. And a look at Victory Day tomorrow. Katia Glod is non-resident fellow with the Russia programme at CEPA. Thanks for speaking to us.